we're moving away from fiat into the DeFi is because we don't believe in continuous money printing. Well, a lot of these tokens are continuous money printing. So most projects today in DeFi pay yield through the minting of tokens or taking tokens from treasury, right? So that is not a sustainable business model. It's okay for a short period of time, but you have to then create value through either actual sales or actual commissions or fees or something like that.
Dear crypto community, blockchain buddies across the globe, welcome back to Cryptonites, the no BS blockchain channel built with the community and for the community. And today we don't have one, but two mind-blowing guests. We have Brian Rose from London Real and Alex Mashinsky, the legend from Celsius. Thank you so much for coming on the show, bros. If I tell you guys here, Paris Blockchain Week, and I say the expression, Vive la Révolution, how does it make you feel, Alex?
We definitely stormed the Bastille. We came when we conquered. This is the Bourse building here in Paris. And as you can see, it's plastered with crypto. So at least for 3 days, we are dominating the French financial sector with crypto assets. So I don't know what happens afterwards, but at least we got it for 3 days.
3 days. And Brian, how do you feel seeing all these crypto signs in front of the AMF? The Autorité des Marchés Financiers des
France, liberté, égalité. Come on, the home of democracy. These people know what time it is when it comes to just letting everybody participate. I love it. I love the vibe. And, you know, French and crypto, they go together. So it feels amazing. Again, former stock exchange, now taken over by crypto people. Yeah, it's been amazing.
It's crazy. 1728, this was built, right?
Yeah.
And now it's us. It's us.
Yeah, we're in charge.
We're in charge. So Alex, a lot of people, obviously, they're worried about the markets, you know, kind of up and down. It's overly corrected, some may say. But most people here don't give a damn. Like, how are you feeling in these markets?
Well, one Bitcoin is still one Bitcoin, right? So nothing has changed. I know, you know, people are worried about the seesawing, the Fed, right? The Russia fighting in the Ukraine, all those things obviously affecting markets. But there's still only going to be 21 million Bitcoin, and you can see from the attendance here, over 6,000 people. This is all professionals. This is not a conference for retail. This is a conference for institutions, for vendors in the industry and so on. And it's a mob scene inside. You can't move, you can't do anything. And, you know, I said before, I said to them, bonjour les Dijon. But they have no clue what I'm talking about. But Dijon is a compliment. You know, I think people almost threw tomatoes at me. But maybe next year. That was a test to see if they know what I'm talking about. So.
How do you feel about that, Brian? So obviously the macroeconomic situation, or just the macro situation in general, is quite worrisome. But people here, again, they're living the life.
Hasn't come up a single time. All we're talking about is building the infrastructure of the future. Everybody's got projects. Everyone's super positive. Everyone sees huge game-changing, you know, 100x type plays. So yeah, it hasn't come up. Everyone's super excited to be here, and everyone thinks that Europe will now finally be involved in crypto. And yeah, I can't wait to bring it all there. So it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been really fun.
Yeah, if you count Ukraine in Europe for a minute, Ukraine is still #1 in Europe, both in percentage of people using crypto, laws that have been passed for positive to crypto. Then it's Portugal, and France is actually #3, right? So despite all of the financial, I've seen one bank here, but you know, the banks are still trying to stay out. They're still trying to slow it down, but the MF is pushing on all of them. And you can see obviously industry participation across the board. So, they're not going to get in front of Portugal. I think Portugal is much more aggressive about bringing crypto into and creating jobs. But France is, trailing right behind.
Trailing right behind. Yeah, you felt the same. Obviously in London, crypto's quite advanced. Lots of things going on. How are you feeling with France? Look, people are like singing over there.
Yeah. I've been super impressed with how people are up the curve here with what's going on in crypto. And obviously there's global events happening, but like each one of these global events tells us you want control of your money, you want financial freedom. And I think everybody's waking up to that. So all these events just show us we all need to go in that one direction and just have control of our own money. And I think everybody sees that. So it's just exciting. We want to keep talking about it. I hope we see more of this happen in Europe, going forward.
Absolutely. Transitioning to DeFi, Alex, you got to give us some of the highlights of your talk. What were the message you're trying to portray today? I know that you wanted to give a new perspective to the world, right? So if you mind sharing a few of the gems.
So look, 5 years ago, we were an experiment, a crazy idea, right? The yield on crypto, on the blockchain was sounded completely ridiculous. I mean, I pitched Celsius to 200 VCs, right? And they all said, no, this is never going to happen, right? And now VCs are chasing startups here in the room, begging them to put money in. Please take my money. And all the entrepreneurs are saying, no, I'm doing a DAO. I don't need your money, right? I'm just doing. I'm gonna just launch, and the community is gonna fund me, right? So I think now we're 159,000 Bitcoin, almost 2 million ETH on the Celsius platform. We paid 6,092 Bitcoin as yield. Right, that is no longer a proof of concept. Now it's a source of income. It's a source of revenues for a lot of our customers. Right, they're living off that money, and they're never going back. All these people that unbank themselves are never going back into traditional finance. So, and all the people on the street are scratching their head and saying, "What's going on here? How come I'm not part of it? Right? How come I'm left behind? Because you're not going to get it from Crédit Agricole or from any of the traditional French banks." BNP Paribas right there across the street. Yeah. Exactly. Banks and how do you say it in French again?
Les banques sont pas vos amis.
Yeah, les banques sont pas des amis.
Yeah.
Right? Yes.
It's funny, I used to come to Paris to visit my clients, which were Paribas and Lyonnais when we were here. I just bumped into an old colleague from the city of London where I used to work 20 years ago. He's in crypto now. I'm in crypto now. A lot of these people are realizing that this is where you want to be in the future, and these old school institutions don't have it. And everybody's waking up to DeFi, and GameFi is being talked about a lot. All of these things are super positive for the ecosystem. It's just
and now we have people in crypto actually can dress up, not like us.
Bring the swagger.
I think, we figured out where all the people were waiting for a well-dressed a British American to show up and show them the way. So again, we're all educating the community. There's still a lot of skepticism, right? The banks are telling them, hey, Bitcoin is bad, it's fraud, or it's burning. Every time they come up with a new motif, right? This time it's burning a lot of electricity. That's the latest bad thing. Don't buy Bitcoin and make 10 million% return because it's consuming a lot of electricity,
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to kind of ask you guys both, like that bridge between CeFi DeFi, and I know, Alex, you've mentioned it on Twitter. You talk about it a lot with the DeFi Kings, the DeFi Academy. Like, what is it to you when people say it's never just CeFi, it's never just DeFi, it's kind of a blend between the two? What does that mean to you, Alex?
Well, so CeFi and DeFi are two sides of the same coin, right? You can flip it as many times as you want. It doesn't matter if it lands on CeFi or DeFi. It's the same thing, right? For most people, it's very hard for them to jump into DeFi. It's too far. It's a bridge too far, right? So they need to come to something comfortable, something that looks like Web 2, and that's what Celsius provides. And then from there, they can go into DeFi. They can go, or they can just earn yield and so on. So I think 99% of the population is going to stay in CeFi or Web 2.5. And maybe 1% can go right now to Web 3, right? So most of the people here are not ready for Web 3. I know it sounds great, Web 3, it's so easy. But actually going in there, this year, $2 billion was lost on Web 3 already to hacks and scams and everything else. So if so many people show up and they lose money, they will leave forever. They're not gonna stay on CeFi, they're not going to stay on Web 3. They're just going to go back and say, yes, it is a scam. I tried it, and they stole all my money, right? So we don't want that. We want to educate people. We want them to go take baby steps instead of a giant jump into the hole called DeFi. It's a black hole. You don't know how far. Yeah, you think you're gonna fall down the rabbit hole, but you're falling in. You're getting spaghettified inside the black hole called DeFi.
You're in a jungle with a stick, right?
Yes.
Brian, how do you feel about the baby steps, like this analogy of Web 2.5 to Web 3.0, CeFi DeFi?
So yeah, I have a DeFi Academy. I graduated now over 1,000 students in over 50 countries around the world. And my job is to push them to that first step because they're sometimes so terrified to jump into any of these protocols. So it's, just get some of these coins. Realize you can get yield on those coins in a variety of platforms, including Celsius, and then start moving into wherever you want to go with DeFi and all the other things happening with GameFi. So I just try to get people to start. We push them and say, you have to be involved with this. This isn't just about making money or learning about finance. This is your financial freedom. This is your future. This is your generational wealth you're going to pass on to your kids. So take that first step in any way you can. And then you can go a little bit deeper down the pool, right? You can go into a little bit of the darker places, and we'll see what this evolves into. And it will be something that's maybe highly DeFi'd for certain players in the future. But I would say to everybody, just start. Start now. It's not too late either, is what I'd say to people.
Absolutely. So everyone wants to start, wants to make money. Alex, in these kind of crappy markets or conditions, what are a few ideas that you have in terms of yield or strategy? You talked about BTC yield. Are there any other strategies that you think are nice while the markets are a bit less interesting or bullish?
Well, yeah, I just think diversifying between Bitcoin, Ethereum, stable coins like USDC or USDT are a pretty safe strategy. I think some of the other coins are much more volatile, so people have to be careful. I know a lot of people are excited about Solana and Polkadot and Cardano and so on, but those are binary wins, meaning they're either going to do very well or you're going to lose a lot of money. So don't allocate more than just a few percentage points of the portfolio. At least not financial advice, but that's what I do, right? So, I continue to buy more Bitcoin, and I think just seeing how many people are joining the community, I'd rather have more Bitcoin than have more fiat, more dollars or anything else. So that's my conviction is as strong as it's ever been. So.
Alex just mentioned risk, which is a very interesting topic and maybe misunderstood by many out there, right? The different levels of risk. Like, how do you explain that to your students about CeFi lending versus DeFi lending, AMM pools, farming, et cetera, et cetera?
I mean, just that concept of risk reward is something, they taught me back in finance and business school, et cetera, is that if you are taking more risk, you should get more reward. And you should always be aware of those two facts. And if you're getting more reward, there's inherently more risk. And even diversify your diversified portfolio. So have a little bit of this, have a little bit of that, and see what it's like over time. Maybe you're happy to just keep it in Bitcoin, keep it in Celsius and let it grow. Maybe you want to up your risk profile a little bit. Maybe you want to go out to some of those other smaller coins, or maybe early stage invest. But at least be aware and make sure you're being compensated for the risk you're taking. Otherwise, just don't take it.
Makes a lot of sense. Any comments on that, on the little different risk levels? And
the beauty about DeFi, especially if you're using Polygon and other chains, layer 2 chains that have no fees or very small fees, is that you can try with $10, right? And learn what's working. If you lose it, great. You lost $10, not a big deal. Because all of us made those mistakes, right? To become a degen, you have to make mistakes. You have to learn, okay, I cannot send layer 1 tokens on layer 2, right? Like a lot of people make that stupid mistake of sending USDC to an address, a layer 2 address, and then it stuck in the ether, right? At Celsius, we recovered $50 million of our customers sending stuff to the wrong address, right? And no one else is going to help you. I mean, we managed to recover a lot of that bad transmissions, but you try that on Binance, they're not going to recover it for you, and so on. So just make sure you learn the lessons with small amounts of money.
And I think that's a really good point because, it's either risk levels, but it's also like active versus passive, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of these yields, even if they're triple digits, either they are super risky or they just don't sustain.
Exactly.
Right?
If you have time, great. You should do farming. You should do all kind of other stuff. But if you have a life and you have a family and kids and so on, just park it, hodl with Celsius. You'll be fine. You'll be making almost the same amount of money. There's very little difference between farming yourself. Actually, I saw Cointelegraph did a survey that over 50% of people who did farming lost money after fees, after impermanent loss, after mistakes and everything else. You put all that together, you're actually doing worse than Celsius or anything else.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Always put a price on your own mental bandwidth.
Yes.
Because if you spend 10 hours getting some great yield farming yield when you could spend 10 minutes and let someone else do it, maybe that isn't the best reward
Right.
at all.
It might cost you your marriage, right?
Yeah,
Spend
again.
it with your wife.
Yeah, you should be doing lots of things with your time. And again, I always teach this in my Crypto and DeFi Academy. Start small. Start with 10 bucks, with 50 bucks.
Yes.
We've all made that mistaken transaction before. And sometimes my students say, oh, Brian, I just lost $100. I'm like, yeah, better that than $100,000.
Exactly.
So start small, test this ecosystem, find out what risk profile works for you, and then always be on that cutting edge of the innovation. And that's how the whole thing grows. So.
And the most scarce commodity of all time is actual time.
Yeah,
You know?
it
It's
is. And
not-
you should, I just want to say this, you shouldn't be spending 10 hours a day watching the crypto markets. You should be working on your physical practice, your mental practice, spend time with your family, building your business. So if you can find ways to outsource that with other platforms, then do that and just price in your mental bandwidth.
And if you're checking the price every 10 minutes, that means you have too much Bitcoin or Ethereum. If you're not checking it, that means you don't have enough. So you just need to buy, if you're stressed, if you don't sleep at night, you should sell some, right? Diversify, maybe buy more stable coins to earn yield. But definitely find, each person has their own balance, their
Couldn't
own
agree more. I never
amounts.
check the price of coins on my mobile phone. I tell my students never check it on your mobile phone. You shouldn't have to. If you're doing that, something's wrong.
Yeah, something's wrong.
Try doing it once a day
You're
at a certain place.
misinformed, yeah, you
and
don't
make
know
sure
enough.
it's based on a decision's based on that check. Otherwise, it's just entertainment, and that's not what it should be.
It makes a lot of sense for the DeFi farming. I tell people it's kind of like watering your own plants every morning, while other options are just like having a sprinkler that's automated at
exactly.
a specific time of the day.
And you just harvest every
just
Monday.
harvest, yeah.
You harvest it, or you pick the flowers once every week.
And the machine brings
Yes,
the flowers and
exactly.
vegetables and fruits.
The
to
machine,
your...
that's my name.
Every Monday.
The
I love
Mashinsky.
Mondays.
Mashinsky, the machine. La
machine.
machine.
Alex La Machine. So last question, Alex, for you, in terms of the evolution of yields, what do you see coming forward? Are there any specific technologies or tools that you feel this is a breath of fresh air for me?
Well, the market is getting much more, I would say, competitive. And because of that, people who are chasing yield are taking more and more risk, right? And people who take more risk also have more problems, more lost funds, and so on. So I think we're definitely seeing separation in the market. So like at Celsius, we have over 200 strategies for yield, right? On 23 billion in assets and 850 people, right? You can't do that with 5 guys and just 1 or 2 strategies. So the game is getting much more difficult, right? And doing it yourself, you cannot compete with a machine like Celsius. To plug that again, La Machine.
La Machine. Brian, yourself, you talked about Gamify a bit earlier. What are some of the most innovative, the most exciting technologies that are coming up this year?
I just keep hearing more about GameFi. So DeFi is something we focused on about a year ago and 9 months ago, and now I just see all of these other Fi options, but with some of these gaming and metaverse plays, which I just will think increase the ecosystem, get people comfortable with doing finance on their coins. And I just think it helps bring more people into this and even understand that they need yields. A lot of people don't even understand that. So yeah, that's what I see as probably the next 12 months and blowing up everything we're doing here as well. So yeah, it's again, always exciting. I wake up every day more excited about this market.
Blowing up everything we're doing here and conquering the world, right?
Vive la France.
Vive la France. That's a good way to end it. Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
all
bros.
right.
Thank you, brother.
All right, guys, you had it here. 2 for the price of 1. 2 actual elite OGs. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to tune in again next week, Wednesday, premiere at a PC near you, 8 o'clock BST. See you next week, guys.